Welcome to the Loud Quiet. Ooh, empty nester. Okay. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think that actually probably is the theme of the empty nest. What are we doing? Let's do this. Let's do this thing. I don't know if I'm recording. Yeah. Okay.
Great. Sans children. Just us. We need a tissue box up here. Follow along on our journey, and maybe, we can learn from others.
Yeah. I don't have a clue how to be empty nester.
This is the Loud Quiet Living the Empty Nest. Hey guys, welcome back. Episode 43. We were trying to remember which one we were on. I have to go back on Facebook and check every time, or notes or something to see
that once the numbers get above the digits on our hand, it's hard to keep things straight at that point. So welcome back to the Loud Quiet again. Thank you for listening, and just keep listening, watching. Please do that. And I want to say something here. There's something weird that happened last week. Our views went up a percentage that I can't calculate because it's more than I have fingers, like a shocking amount. So I want to say thank you for those of you that are sharing this with your friends. You're now part of a community that is actually starting to grow a little bit. And that's been fun for us, keeping in mind that I will say it almost every time when I talk about growth. Our goal was to stay connected with each other. If folks want to join for the ride, great. If folks want to share their stories with us, even better. But there's something brewing here, and those of you that are part of the Loud Quiet Empty Nest community or just kind of enjoy it, thanks. Yeah. And thank you for letting folks know. We'll see where this grows. And for those of you that are OGs, that'll be kind of fun.
I mean, I know we're super entertaining, so
you make me laugh. And Lord knows I make you laugh. Sometimes it's more at than with, but that's okay.
That goes both ways,
it
probably.
Does. So let's talk about this episode, because I did do a bit of a derail there, but that is something that just surprised me and was kind of enjoyable to see. This episode was not planned, as a lot of our episodes are not planned. Well, that's because what we're going to talk about today was not planned. And one of the good things about being in the empty nest is we've talked about that empty nest impulsiveness. Well, I feel like we kind of executed the empty nest impulsiveness to a pretty strong degree
this week. And let's say was not planned. Sometimes that has a negative, because we've had a lot of things happen this summer that were not planned.
Well, good point.
This one was a positive.
Yeah, great point.
Not planned.
This was improv. This was impromptu. It was delightfully so.
So I think we might have mentioned last week on our episode that Tanner's birthday was last Wednesday, and this was going to be another. We've only been away from him on one birthday, but he's still been here before or after for us to celebrate. So I had already put it to bed. I'd already put it on the shelf, like we talked about last week, that we weren't going to be able to be with him on his birthday. I had already told him he had huge plans on the weekend. That's actually that last night, which we haven't heard about how that went. But on his actual birthday, he had planned a dinner with I think there were about 6 of them. Then I said, okay, put that on us. We'll pay for it. It's your birthday dinner.
We're sort of virtually at his birthday via our credit card.
I sent him an Insomnia cookie cake. Here's a little side note. And, yes, we'll take a sponsorship from Insomnia. Because Ashley and I actually looked up to see where the locations were around here. If you have a college student or any person, but they tend to be around college campuses.
Hence the name.
Yeah. And their cookies are great. Their ice cream is even good, but they are the best. I mean, I ordered a cookie cake and it was to him within 20 minutes. Yeah. So there's a little plug for Insomnia. If it's near your college campus, your student's college campus, use them. They're good. And it's all through an app, and it's all very well done. So.
And if your kid is looking at schools, make sure they look at schools that are near an Insomnia.
And I've used them for, when great things have happened, sometimes not so great things have happened. Yeah. So they are a good company.
Now, let's not say any more until they actually do sponsor us. They don't deserve any more. We just like their cookies.
Yeah. So there you go. Little plug. So
Yeah,
So
there was a part of that we were like, okay, yeah. I mean, the kid's 22, right? At some point, I always think of it in the reverse. Our parents don't come with us on every one of our birthdays on the day, that sort of stuff. And we'd even talked about, before, oh, let's get out there. We could do it, but he's going to be back in a couple weeks. And so we decided, like you said, no, we're not going to be a part of it. We'll put it on the shelf.
well,
And
because okay, wait. Let's say the first time that you had brought it to me, and you said, "Hey, he's going to be out there. Why don't we go?" That was when he originally thought he was coming home right after his birthday.
So
he was going
we
to
would have
celebrate
seen
out
him
there.
anyway,
Yes.
yeah.
But then things got changed. And I will say, going back to our families didn't, do that kind of stuff. One, my birthday always fell on spring break, so everybody was always gone, or I was on a trip somewhere with people. But I am huge on birthdays. Like, I celebrate them big. That's my thing. I started that when they were little. And so, like I said, I had already come to terms that I was not going to be with him, and I tried to do everything to make it nice for him. So, yes. And then and then Thursday.
Well,
Thursday.
yeah, but I'd sensed something even before Thursday. So some of Thursday was not the first time. There was a little bit of sense of, this isn't quite what we want, but we've accepted that. And when you've been married for 24 years, you kind of pick up on somebody's signals, even if they don't necessarily pick up on them themselves. And it was clear that it was not a delightful treat for you to be away from him. And let's not talk about you exclusively. I didn't like it either. And so, yeah, that started, what's out there?
You started talking to me about it earlier, and I was like, I can't. I have Botox on this day.
Gosh.
I'll
Well,
tell
at least
people.
she's willing to put it on the show.
Again, there's another plug for Botox. It works.
Okay, I know the title. Sponsorship without pay. Let's work on this.
If Contour Med Spa would like
Oh
to
my gosh.
sponsor.
We're stopping. Carry on. You had a lot of things
I had
going on.
Botox. Tegan was getting a facial, and she likes me to go with her when she gets her facial on Thursday. So I said, I can't. And
You also had friends. Like, you had dinner plans. You had
which
things that were
those got changed. But
at the time.
Right. So I was like, I can't. We can't. And then on Thursday morning, you sent me this text. This is
I don't remember what that could work
with.
with. Yeah, the text of the week was from me, but
because I had sent you something else.
I've learned a little bit in working with you, and that is, maybe sometimes not always the direct request, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on something, and I want to see how impulsive and flexible you might want to be when it comes to getting your Phoenix. Let that be a tease, and I'll tell you more when we drive home, because we were actually having to drive home together because of a car in the shop. So I just want to see how impulsive and flexible you were. And it was because, well, through a series of items that probably will make it into an episode of Top 10 Trips for Empty Nesters when it comes to travel, I found some ways for us to actually get out there, even some wackadoodle ones that we discarded.
Yeah, well...
Hey, let's drive to Tyler and fly from there.
Yeah. So this was... You sent me this... you picked me up at like I guess... Or no, you dropped my... No.
Yeah, this was Thursday. That's right. I dropped you off somewhere in the morning and probably got you around 11:30.
So, so you came home and quoting a friend or Seinfeld, do your little magic thing. And
yeah, so I don't know how much of the details, but it was, I'll say it quickly. I was able to find that by using my Amex points to transfer them to Avios, which is a membership program, to then transfer it to Qatar Airways, one of the Middle Eastern airlines, to then book space on an American Airlines flight from DFW to Phoenix. We were able to fly from DFW to Phoenix. And I don't know if this is what you're about to say, even fly first class for less than what the miles were for a domestic ticket.
I wasn't going to say that, but
economy.
What I was going to say is when you were telling Tanner what you did to get, he was like, that is the kind of thing I need to learn how to do. For those of you who don't know Rick or haven't known Rick for a long time, he is the king of figuring out how to get places, how to do it the right way, how to use the system. So, yes, he's very...
Loyalty programs have become very, very hard to use. Airlines love for you to earn miles. They don't like it when you use them or make it as expensive to do so as possible. So there's a game here, which is, hey, if anybody wants to hit me up, sure, I'll tell you about the tips. But this was some gymnastics to get through, and yeah, it is comical that doing that ended up costing us less in points to fly first class than it would have been to book American in economy, even though we were flying on an American flight.
Yeah, and I will say, first class domestic is not.
Yeah, before anybody gets excited, meal service was what you would
Here's
get.
your basket. Do you want skinny pop or a bag of cookies?
It was the equivalent of a vending machine without having to use $1.
Yeah. So it was nice. It got us out there, but and again, it felt a little more like, okay, we are back in the empty nest because we have another child, but she's 19. She has a job. She can take care of herself. She has no issues being by herself here. Although when we did tell her, hey, we are going to just try to go do a quick trip. And she said, Mom, we were supposed to go do our sandwich place on Friday. And I was like, I felt really bad. So we took her out to dinner Thursday night because I was like, I know we're not going to be around on your day off. So we'll take you to dinner. And
food is love. Food is love.
Hey, in our family,
food is love.
It is.
It actually, that phrase was uttered inside of my mom's memorial service, so it's real.
It is amazing that we all don't weigh 400 pounds.
Yeah, well, exercise is is love too.
Because
as much as we love it. So you're right. There was that, but let's talk about that impulsiveness, right? We're talking about Thursday at. I bet I didn't e-book them until Thursday at 2:00. We were on a plane Friday at 2:00.
Well, and yes, we were texting Tanner because I needed to make sure. Did he already have plans Friday night? Because there's no reason for us to go out. And then, he didn't. He had plans on Saturday, which we knew about. So that's why we came back early Saturday. This was not a trip to see Phoenix. This was a trip to see Tanner, but we did get to enjoy Phoenix like we enjoy it. So, but yeah, it was nice. He was I think secretly he was excited that we came and felt, good.
Oh, there's no secret about he was excited that we came. I think what is unknown, and I don't know if we didn't, would he have felt something missing?
Yeah.
He is so good at filling his life, his social life, his whatever life, that I don't know there would have been a hole. There was for us.
Yes.
He definitely, though, and he expressed it, was glad that we were there.
Because they did have big plans Saturday night, a big group of them, which, gotten a table at a bar in Scottsdale and bottle service, which that wasn't even a thing when we were, or maybe it was and we just didn't know about it.
It shows that children are different than their parents. Because what he's describing sounds like my vision of hell, not how I would celebrate a birthday.
I love it though, because he had told me all week, he's like, I'm going to be low key this week because, the big shebang is Saturday. No, he went out like then we went here and then we went here. And so anyways,
So it was nice though that we got out there. It was simple. I don't know what you have queued up there. So I do want to talk about kind of the things we did, right? For those that listen to us just because, hey, where did they go? What did they do? Well, thank y'all for that too. So we're in Phoenix, and actually, as much as we know places, we kind of wanted to do something different. And so it was a little bit frustrating to do so, but we found this thing. It's such a generic name that it was hard to actually put it into the Waymo.
And there were more.
Well, it's called the Lobby Bar. Well, how many hotels have something called the Lobby Bar? This is I think it's called the Grand Ambassador. If not, it's the Ambassador.
Global Ambassador, yeah.
I don't know how new this hotel is. It feels relatively new, but this is not an area that we spend a ton of time in. This clearly is one of the happening spots in Phoenix right now. It was difficult to find a seat, but we did. It was this beautiful, classic hotel style lobby,
huge, big
place. They had music set up and some of that.
Yeah.
It was such a nice experience to get to just do that, and we had great service. I've seen some snarky complaints about it, but we had wonderful service there.
It was good excellent people watching if you'd like to go. And it was also, the reason we targeted it is because it was next to the restaurant that we
Correct.
had reservations at. So
And we found a little later what next to meant. It's funny you talked about the people watching. I don't know exactly how to say this phrase, so hopefully I don't have to back this out. But this would have been a spectacular ad for plastic surgery in Scottsdale. There was a lot of the beautiful people were there. And I'm seeing from your face, you don't see that.
First of all, when we go to Scottsdale, the places that sometimes we go to Scottsdale, we're some of the youngest people there. This time we were some of the oldest people there.
Very strong point.
They
Yes.
don't need plastic surgery yet, some of those people. But I will say there were all kinds of people coming in there. I mean, all kinds of people coming in there.
Okay, that is a good point. Perhaps I noticed what I noticed, but
there were some bachelorette parties you could tell going on. There were girls that were getting ready to go out somewhere else because, they just had on their lingerie as tops.
Yes, it was very...
So it was a good...
Although, if you're
mix of
looking
people.
in this picture, you're right about that. Like, that was the plastic surgery I was talking about and all that. But in the background of this photo, for those that want to look, you see that there's normal people in this photo as well. So,
oh, good. I'm glad we got the lady that was making us...
Please don't let her listen to this episode. Please don't let her listen. So, it's one of those things. It's a crowded bar. It's a space for 9. What a lot of folks had been doing is, hey, can I have this side of the couch? And people were very communal almost, right? That's the opposite of what you expect in you expect snooty. It was not. Well, this group was like, no, we've got 5 more coming. We were there for an hour before
their
the rest.
people even showed up.
It was so much fun to watch group after group after group come up to them and be like, hey, can we have this side? No. we got folks coming. All right.
That was entertaining.
Well, there's
like
us.
I said, it was very entertaining. So, but it was very nice. And this is where Tanner ordered the French onion dip and chips. And I mean,
wait, but it was called something even fancier than that, wasn't it? Or was it just?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't even see the menu. I just know what he ordered.
Oh, maybe it was like onion remoulade. I can't think, but
I don't know.
So yeah. Anyway,
you could get the caviar bump with it.
Oh,
if you
that's
wanted.
What it was. Yeah. That was the fancy part of it. So this is. I interrupted your flow there, but yeah, this is onion dip.
Yeah, but
French onion dip.
Fancy dish, and we all loved the glasses. I'm gonna have to go and research It's like the glasses that my grandmother had in her. So it was nice. That was a nice start to our evening, and. So you were talking about where the restaurant
was across
was.
the street.
And
so we're going over to Buck and Ryder, and it's across the street. Sorry, you were starting to say.
So some people that know, I know probably some people know Phoenix and know Camelback Mountain. Well, Camelback is a road that's equivalent to Preston.
Yeah.
I'd call it, so we were like, oh, we have to get across that, and it was 112 degrees. So
the sun had kind of dipped down.
Yeah.
It was all right.
It was fine.
I that was when I'd commented, hey, the wind kind of keeps things down. And both you and Tanner said, no, it's like a wind is being blown off of the surface of the sun. It was a very warm wind.
It was. But again,
we were fine.
It still was fine. You weren't I wasn't sweating.
It does. It is unlike a walkable city like New York and Boston or Chicago where people are walking. You really do feel strange when you're walking on a sidewalk. But it would have been, I don't even know if an Uber would have ever accepted a ride.
Not.
It was comical, though, to be out there.
I mean, it took us 4 minutes to walk there.
And we're just the only people out on a sidewalk.
That area is equivalent, to being down Preston. No one's going to be walking. But then, when you're close to campus and you're on Mill, everybody's walking.
Sure.
So,
good point.
It's just different parts of the city is different. But
well, then, so the restaurant, I think I said it already, but it was Buck and Ryder, which that's one that we'd been to before in another part of town, and we were there to celebrate Tanner. We let them know, and I see you put the picture up.
Yes.
They did something kind of neat. Y'all remember, for those that have been in, say, not old-timey, but train stations before signs were digital.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is one of those where it's the rotating and it's spinning and that sort of thing, and they have the catch of the day up there. And then the waitress at the end of our meal came over and said, hey, happy birthday, Tanner, turn around. And he turned around and you see the spinning of the sign, and they set it up with happy birthday, Tanner. And I noticed this. We didn't do a good job of taking the picture to them.
Yeah, I know.
Of course they know
Tanner
you're going to put it on
it.
social media, and so they want you hashtag Buck and Ryder.
And okay, so what I find so funny about this is for those of you who do have college age kids that go out, and now with the bottle service and the trend at these fancier bars or nightclubs is the sign comes in with your name that says happy birthday. And the whole time Tanner was like, I finally get to have my name on a sign, because last year their plans, when he turned 21, their plans kind of fell through at the club that did that they were going to. So he was so excited about getting his name on a sign. Well, we got his name on a sign for him before he went out. So, yeah, I said,
Yeah,
I said,
because that's
so there,
who we
your
are.
parents, because he had looked up at that sign earlier and saw, he said, I thought it said happy birthday Tanner, but it said happy birthday Rainier or something. And I said, yeah, we didn't do that for you, because I didn't know that's what they did. And I forgot you.
I didn't know it either.
Well, I forgot you, when you called to try to move our reservation, you said, oh, it's for a birthday. And so then I said, oh, well, there you go.
I will say there's something in this, and I won't belabor this point. This gets into more kind of the business side of me, the customer experience side. I don't recall telling them the year of his birthday. I really don't remember putting that in.
I heard you say it when you called. You said, we're there to celebrate a 22nd birthday.
But it was, and the call came after we made an online reservation. Mm-hmm. So it was a flippant, offhand, throwaway remark. And they wrote it down and commented and wished him a happy 22nd multiple times. So just from a details perspective, I didn't make significant note of that, but they caught it.
Yeah.
And so they somehow recorded it and took care of it and passed it through their team. Those are the kind of details that actually matter at restaurants and can impress you.
And again, if you're traveling to the Phoenix area, Buck and Ryder is an excellent restaurant. Rick and I have been there once before, and Tanner hadn't, so we revisited
Brought to you by
it.
Buck and Ryder.
And I do think it's fun though that he said, "Oh yeah, my friends Zoe and Gabe went there after y'all had talked about it." So, we
somehow the Frisco, Texas people are becoming the social guides for the residents of Phoenix and Scottsdale, which is so not true. There's so much more to explore there.
But yeah, so it was just fun, and it's so funny because Tegan loves French onion dip and macarons. Those are like two of her high on the list foods. So we got the French onion dip at the one place. And then what did they bring Tanner for his birthday? A box of macarons. I was like, oh, he said, don't tell Tegan.
Yeah, of course. But who did? Yeah, of course, when she was told. So that was fun, right? And it was impulsive. Yeah. It was...
It got our empty nester juices flowing again. That's what,
And so I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm willing to let you say, "Hey, Rick,
you did this last time
I
to
did.
me too. Is this going to be a new segment? Let's ask Clancy a question.
Oh, that could be fun. Actually, I didn't think about that.
Well, it's gonna
listeners and viewers, what I want y'all to do is email me privately of what questions you want me to ask Clancy.
It's going to go both ways.
That's fine. AMA Rick anytime. And I do mean this, like if you say, hey, let's actually make that a different episode. Let's cut this. We can cut this out of the show. We spent an entire episode last week talking about when will the rest come. That was the title of the episode. We talked about when are we going to do this? When are we going to do this for ourselves? And we keep saying phrases like, well, we'll get to it. We're too busy, that sort of thing. Why is it that we were able to do this for Tanner at the drop of the hat, but you and I haven't done this for ourselves?
Oh, I have the answer real quick. Because it was for one of our kids, which is...
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean...
Well, no, sorry. Let me ask that question
right?
differently. Should we be doing that in our empty nest days where we're prioritizing the freedom and the flexibility towards them at the expense of us? And I'm not actually taking a side with that.
I already knew that we had this weekend free, but we never did anything about trying to plan something to go. I think that question is probably what a lot of empty nesters feel when their kids come back home, because we still have Tegan here.
Yeah.
I don't want to just abandon her when between September to December we have all the time available.
Yeah.
Now, we abandoned her, but to go be with one of our other children, and it was for less than 24 hours, she did fine. But
Of course, right? She's not this fragile.
no. But yeah, and selfishly, that was for me too.
Yeah.
Like I said already, I am huge on their birthdays. I gave birth to these children.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Well, you got that card over me. I can't ever get that one.
There is a connection between a mom and her kids that a dad will never understand, and that's fine.
No,
y'all have different connections. You
Yeah.
have different connections with them than I do.
Yeah.
But I carried these people for 9 months. I fed them their entire. So
Yeah.
it's just different. I did this one for him, but also for me.
Yeah.
Or I'm glad that you suggested it because yes, it filled my heart to be able to be with him. So, but yes, I think that's as much as you try not to let your lives revolve around your kids, and I think even my parents would say, to some extent, their lives still do. And, they were still coming to all sporting events of our children and activities of our children. Whereas,
Yeah.
so I think that's an easy answer for it.
It was for the kids. And when I look back on the weekend, like if you'd asked me that question, I would have had a very similar answer. I couldn't have said that I gave birth to them. When I missed out on that one. Yes, it is for the kids. I think it was an interesting. I don't know when I thought of that thought. I've actually been sitting on that question because if we really feel like you and I, like we desperately need this moment of rest and not even about the couple connection. I think it's individually we need rest and just together we want to experience that rest together. And we will likely in the near term need to do that in an impulsive sort of way. We went from having nothing planned to a flight to Phoenix in a matter of less than 24 hours, right? So I thought it was just interesting, and two, it inspired me to realize that we actually can do this for ourselves if we choose to do this for ourselves. I don't regret doing this for Tanner because there was a calendar time component, and I love every bit of it. This was not just for you. This was not just for him. I wanted this too. I felt because I'd said that earlier in the week, I felt the melancholy of not being a part of his birthday on or around his birthday. I take it, though, as inspiration of, okay, we can actually pull this off if we choose to pull this off.
Yeah.
I talked about the hoops that I jumped through to get flights. Well, so we can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, I had another thought and now it's escaped me, but, and we did, we went and walked around Papago. We love that. We ate another place. If you're going to the Phoenix area, Maria's Fry Bread and Mexican restaurant was excellent. We went there for breakfast after
Tiny little strip mall place.
Yeah.
You'd never find it.
So good. And if you want any of these recommendations, just reach out to us and we can give them to you. But, it came back to me. Another thing is that neither one of our kids right now, because they're still young adults, they don't have partners. So, by the time you and I were dating, engaged, married, the reins can kind of pass to the spouse or girlfriend, boyfriend
I get
to
what you're
do
saying.
those special events and
They
special,
sort of own the event.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
that's another one. And thank God we're not there yet. But, so I can see that, as single children.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that one.
As long as your children are single, who's going to, do that kind of stuff for them? Still the parents.
Yeah.
So,
Ooh, that's a little brain breaker right there. A little epiphany. You're right. I hadn't thought of that part. So yeah, some inspiration for, hey, we can do this, and let's just go back to it. It was just a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
I love being able to
The
do
whole
that. I
time we
do
were there,
love
we're like,
being able-
this is great. I'm so glad we did this.
Yeah.
There was not a, except for the flight back was a little
yeah,
wah
whatever.
wah, but we were on time. Who cares? I don't care. We were on time. Everything was smooth. So, but yeah, everything else was good. So yeah, I'm glad that we got to be spontaneous empty nesters and
Let's get that muscle. We flexed that muscle again. It was nice to do it.
Yep.
Well, let's use that as inspiration to flex our muscles for future time, so we can tell even more stories on the loud, quiet, living the empty nest.